All right, third time's a charm? Possibly? I don't know. Let's try this again. I literally shut off everything in the house and told everybody to, stop playing around. So let's see what happens. I'll give you all a couple minutes to get back into it. Going to be on for about, 35 to 40 minutes. To remind, I will be on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, as well as Monday nights at 8. You can follow my work over at goldghostingguns.com. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you do. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Even if you decide to watch this on Periscope, being subscribed on YouTube is great because, the more subscribers, the better. And it makes it a lot easier to force YouTube to tell me that I'm not allowed to monetize my channel. Okay. Let's get back to it then, shall we? All right. What I wanted to talk about this afternoon was Germany. And let's get Restream back open again and a chat server open and all. If I don't do that, then I can't see the comments. All right, hold on for just a second. Okay, fourth time's a champ. Let's try this and make sure that it actually works. I do apologize for kind of screwing this up, but I don't know what the hell was going on with my bandwidth or lack thereof. So, okay. Let me know that y'all are getting this. Say something in the chats just to make sure that I know what's going on. I'm going to talk about Germany because it's really important that we're reaching that moment in time where we could easily lose Angela Merkel as the leader of Germany, and that would be, frankly, one of the best possible outcomes for everybody. Now, I'm going to back up and I'm going to redo what I talked about earlier just to make sure, because I'll delete all the other versions of this. So Merkel is now oscillating ham radio dial. I don't know what that means. Oh, household net neutrality. Nah, heck with that. I don't believe in that net neutrality nonsense. I think there's something else. I think there was something else going on. So I'm not sure what it was. I'll believe actually that my browsers were mining crypto in the background. First, to be honest with you. So, and actually I have to remind myself to make sure that I shut down I kind of cycle my browser before I start for these exact reasons. Because that would actually do it. So, and you guys know that I have just barely enough bandwidth to make this all work. So let's talk about what's going on in Germany. So back in November, I was writing during the German coalition talks. I was telling everybody that we were very close to the end of Angela Merkel. I was a little premature, not going to lie. I really did think that the breakdown of the original Jamaica-style coalition between the Free Democrats, the CDU, CSU, and the Greens meant that the most likely outcome from there was that we were going to get another revote. Well, in Germany, they didn't want a revote, and President Frank-Walter Steinmeier really worked hard to get everybody to come together. Thank you. And get everybody to come together and form a coalition. But that was always the goal. The goal was always another grand coalition between Merkel and Schultz, the Social Democrats, and the CDU, CSU, and have another one of these coalition cartel-style governments where Merkel leads, and that's that. But once it formed, it was always going to be very weak because in order to get that coalition to form, Merkel had to give up a lot of power internally within her own party. And for a couple of years now, I've been watching the movements of Horst Seehofer, the head of the CSU, and former governor of Bavaria, who's now the interior minister, right? And Seehofer has been a very pivotal, important figure because he's the one who has been most vocal about the Russia sanctions hurting Bavarian business, because Bavaria is being the most powerful state in Germany economically, as also the one that's been hurt the most economically by the sanctions on Russia. It's cost them almost 50% or over 50% of their trade with Russia. Now it's starting to. Now they've been able to figure out ways of getting around the sanctions, and trades between Russia and Germany is rising again. And I'm sure Trump's not happy about that. But at the same time, Seehofer has also been acting in effect as kind of like Merkel's go-between between she and Putin. Oh my, made that Freudian slip. The deep state would be quite proud. So, what is important from there is that Seehofer is now openly challenging Merkel at a leadership level over immigration. And the main reason for that, and I've got links to the description of the video down below, the main reason for that is that Bavarian state elections are in October, and the CSU could lose its outright majority if polling continues this way, because AfD, Alternative for Germany, is making serious inroads, taking voters away from even the mighty center-right CSU within Bavaria. And if that's the case, then the CSU is going to have to form a coalition in Bavaria. And they're not going to want to do that with AfD. So they're going to have to do it with somebody else, and that's going to weaken their government, and Seehofer doesn't want that to happen. So he's now grafting a hardline immigration stance onto Merkel's government, which Merkel doesn't want. And AfD is just sitting there licking their chops, pouring gasoline on the fire. Seehofer met with Sebastian Kurz, the new prime minister of Austria, to form a anti-immigration front against Merkel. You've got Salvini in Italy doing his job with almost gleeful abandon, turning people away and shouting to the heavens. It's in grand Italian style of hyperbole and whatnot. So I'm you're watching this happen, and you're literally watching Merkel's rule over Germany fail in real time. At the same time, Trump just freaking destroyed her at the G7. Now, I saw some stuff today that Canada is going to put is going to put taxes on I didn't see that quote, TX history lover, about AfD calling Seehofer Merkel's bed mat. I think that's really funny. So yeah, I mean, you've got counter tariffs going on from Canada. The Germans are doing the same thing. They're going to institute even more. It's going to be an ugly trade war. At the same time this is happening, guys, you have to understand, this is all literally happening at the same time. We had the ECB come out this morning with almost verbatim going back on their previous policy statement. And there's Draghi out there, 2 weeks ago, he was hawkish, trying to talk the euro up. Now he's talking the euro down. Now he's saying, well, we're going to end QE, but we're going to keep interest rates negative forever, and we're going to support everybody. And so why is he trying to talk the euro down? I mean, gold broke out this morning. Silver's above $17. The dollar's up. Gold is up. Stocks are up. U.S. Treasuries are up. Does this sound like what I've been talking about for the last year and a half? I wonder. I wonder. It's so actually almost close to unbelievable at this point what's happening all at once. And I think we were talking about this on Monday night. And if I wasn't talking about it with you guys, I was talking about it with my wife, or I was talking about it with a friend of mine. I can't remember. I have, I talk about this stuff all day long when I'm not writing my tits off. That exactly, TX. This is why you think that Trump is trying to destroy or at least destabilize the EU. I think he's going after Merkel specifically. And I almost feel like all of Trump's serious Iran baiting is actually pointed at Germany. I think I was saying this. I think I said it to you guys obliquely. And I might have even mentioned it in this month's newsletter. But the more I watch this play out, the more it seems to me that this is the conclusion that I can come to. That got to look at the big picture here. Oh, I can't stand Merkel either. I mean, I've been gleefully looking for Merkel to get crushed. So, in every way. So, yeah, insert the Merkel-Trump pick. User 13 on YouTube asked Macron as well. Maybe. I don't know about I mean, yeah, obviously he's going to go after Macron, but really the key is Merkel. Okay? Macron is easily dealt with because he doesn't have a whole lot of... He's another one who's tremendously unpopular with inside France. So, and Theresa May in the UK is self-destructing on her own. So yeah, he doesn't have to do anything with her. So here's the gig. You've got Brexit being betrayed in the UK. That's going, and they think by betraying Brexit they're going to win a Pyrrhic victory. That's just all that's going to do is destroy the UK along with the EU as the whole thing explodes. You've got Soros out there complaining bitterly that Trump is trying to destroy the world. No, really, he's trying to destroy Soros's world, not the world. We're all back here rejoicing. Okay? You've got the Italians trying to literally blow holes open in the current political establishment. You've got the ECB admitting this morning that they're trapped, and finally admitting it. We've all known for years that the ECB is trapped. They can't raise interest rates and they can't stop buying the debt, but they're going to make like, oh, we've got everything under control. Well, I got news for you. This morning, Draghi came out and said, we're trapped. The euro's down 2 cents, guys. It didn't even catch a bid. It never caught a bid at any time today post the press conference. Okay? It went completely off the rails. Roger, I greatly appreciate the super hearts. To be honest with you, Periscope will never monetize my channel. So, while I appreciate the super hearts, there's other ways that you can help the cause. But I'm not going to, but I won't look at the gift horse in the mouth. I just know that Periscope will never monetize my channel. And I'm nowhere close to the threshold to even offer, to even ask for, please, sir, may I monetize my channel? So, but I appreciate it. No, it's cool, dude. I'm just letting you know that I don't want you wasting your time and your money, right? That I don't want you to do because you're pissing in the wind. Oh, Thordoom lets me know that Gazprom won an appeal to halt the seizure of its assets. Thordoom, can you tell me which country? Because I know that it was both Switzerland and the Netherlands. So yeah, I mean, if you really do want to support the work, I've got a Patreon over at Patreon/GoldGoatsAndGuns. For $4, you get the private blog. And, oh, you do? Then we're cool. Then you're awesome. And don't worry about it. You're fantastic. Make sure that you're signed up. If you all can, make sure you're signed up on YouTube, because when I can get to 1,000 people on the channel, then I can actually appeal to become monetized over there, and then we can grouse about the fact that they're not going to let me monetize my channel, and that should and we'll do that even more. So we're good. Thank you. Truly I appreciate all of you. So both of them fantastic. Thordium lets me know that both Switzerland and the Netherlands have been blocked from seizing Gazprom's assets over the Swedish arbitration court's ruling against it in its lawsuit with Naftagaz. Naftagaz was going around and seizing Gazprom, trying to seize Gazprom's assets over this ridiculous ruling, and because basically socialism. I mean, literally, the Swedish arbitration court says, well, Gazprom, you're rich, and Naftagaz is poor, and you need to pay them $2.6 billion because they're poor. So, but let's get back to Germany, even though that's great news for Gazprom, because that's actually a phenomenal thing, because now they can go forward with their appeal at the Swedish arbitration court, and then from there, we can finally end all that, and then they can start negotiating a new transit deal for post-2019 and the Nord Stream pipeline. With the new Chinese Silk Road, do you see Germany aligning with the East, i.e. Russia and China? It's the big wedge issue of the day. This is Juan Isaac. We're going to talk about Germany. So we're gonna cycle all back to all of that. So Juan Isaac is asking me about the Silk Roads in Germany. Yes, the short answer is yes. The long answer is that's the wedge issue of the day. That's the big kahuna. That's what Trump is trying to stop. That's what Putin is trying to create. And if you read all of the stuff that I've been writing about recently, you'll understand that the situation's unbelievably complicated. In theory, in practice, it's actually quite simple. And it's actually quite simple. Germany needs to ditch the US and buy Russian gas and lift the sanctions and all of that. Merkel needs a way to save face and get out of it, and everybody's trying to use all of this stuff as talking points and leverage in negotiations over trade tariffs and everything else. And look, Trump's just not listening to any of that. Trump's like, no, I'm putting tariffs on you. I don't like you. And I don't like the way Germany is lording it over the rest of the world. So the rest of Europe. So no. Putin's like, hey, grass is green over here. Buy Iranian oil with euros. Buy Russian gas with euros. Let's do it. So, Kim's going to go to Russia. Yeah, I'm not surprised about that at all. Remember, Lavrov was there. Was in North Korea extensively trying to broker that deal. So let's get back to Germany, and then we can talk about other things. So what's happening with the German parliamentary stuff, or the German internal politics, is that if Seehofer goes the full 9 on this, and Merkel digs in her heels, AfD is going to push for a vote of no confidence against Merkel. And Seehofer might go along with them. And you could easily see the whole thing collapse. I mean, we've all seen the protests all over Germany against the immigration policy. We've seen all of this stuff. And Merkel continues to act like none of it's real, none of it's happening, that it's all exists as this philosophical construct about what kind of Germany we want to be, when in reality, the German people are turning against her on this. And ultimately, it's got to be, something has to give. And so, I remember talking with some people about this, some commenters on my blog at the end of last year, earlier this year, saying, look, even if they do put a coalition together, it's going to be very weak. I'm like, I know, but they can try and make it work for 18 months or 2 years. And I distinctly remember one guy telling me it might not last 6 months. I'm like, good. I tend to be more pessimistic than that. So, I'm going to go with 18 months, but if it's in 6, I'm all for it. I'm happy to be wrong. Yeah. And TX brings up the point that there's also people in the CDU that are siding with Seehofer and the CSU. So that's fantastic. And that's the thing, is that Merkel could wind up, because look, once the political worm turns right? Once the support starts to go, once the emperor is revealed to have no clothes, once there's no power, the knives come out and everybody starts stabbing each other in the back. Okay? And that's what Trump is facing with this sanctions policy, is what I wrote about yesterday. Okay? Trump is in the same position with his extreme hard-ass sanctions policy on everybody. If he fails here to get his result, it's going to be backlash against him long-term is going to be epic. And it's going to set the stage for the dollar collapse on the end of after the European collapse. Okay? Remember, when I talk about these things, it's always in terms of an order of operations. First, Europe has to collapse, then Japan, then the United States. The United States has to collapse last. It's not that the United States is even going to collapse. It's just going to have to go through a very, very, very ugly time. Okay? But it's not going to happen until at least 2021, 2022, because Europe has to collapse first. And that will be a slow-moving drudgery of watching these people drag out the inevitable. It's like the world's slowest freaking train wreck to hell. So, the neocons must really hate these happy scenes from Russia. You mean the World Cup? Fans from all over are partying. Yeah, they're going to be beside themselves with envy and hate, and they're going to do everything they can to try and destroy that. I am not. I'm not sure it's going to happen during the World Cup, but it could, and I think a lot of it has to do with the timing. Okay, I think the end of the month is very important, and so something may have to happen before the end of the month. There's elections coming up in July. I think it's July in Ukraine. So that may be the thing that puts the timer on what Poroshenko does on the contact line against the Donbass. We'll see. So the upshoot here is that in Germany is that if there's a break of this coalition and it comes from within Merkel's own Union Party, we could have a Merkel gone in no time flat, and then Katie bar the door. Germany could go to Germany. And then what happens if everything explodes? Yeah, I didn't actually get a chance to watch the game. I'm going to try and watch a replay tonight. Because I didn't have a chance to watch the game today. Who won, Russia or the Saudis? Hopefully the Russians. I mean, just because. Home team should always win their opening match, especially against like Saudi Arabia. But the Russians are out there again reminding everybody today that they've got credible evidence that the white helmets and the US are trying to create another false flag chemical attack in Syria. This is the kind of stuff that needs to end under Trump. This is the kind of stuff that Trump needs to put the kibosh on if he wants the. Oh, nice 5-0. That's a dude. Even in hockey, that's an ass kicking. In soccer, that's like 5 games worth of goals. Ooh, I'm gonna enjoy watching that tonight. Hate the Saudis. All right. So that there'll actually be a longer than 30-second highlight reel. Wow, cool. Soccer is slow hockey on grass. The only time I ever watch soccer is the World Cup. Otherwise, I can't be arsed. And no offense to Europeans, it's just I get why you like it. It's just not really for me. I like watching the World Cup because you're watching the best of the best, and the matches are very interesting. Tactically, everybody plays. I think it was I heard a really good joke about the World Cup the other day. It's like World Cup is great, is a tournament where 32 of the world's best teams come together and they run up and down the field for 90 minutes, and at the end Germany wins. It's actually not far from the truth. The Germans are really, really good. Take nothing away from their soccer prowess. I just want their to be. I am Italian. I don't really care. I mean, the Italian team is fine, but I'm not even sure who I usually root for. I don't usually root for anybody in the World Cup. I usually root against the Germans, let's be honest. And I don't necessarily root for the Italians. And Italy, whatever. I don't really have I just usually root against the Germans because I don't like the way the Germans play soccer. They're very good at it, but I just don't like the way they play. Certainly, I don't like the way they play in the World Cup. They're incredibly aggressive and take liberties left and right. And the Germans play this type of international soccer that is the type of hockey I don't really like either. It's the kind of smash mouth, not just smash mouth, but liberty taking smash mouth that I can't stand. Where it's just the Germans are, in my mind, are just this side of dishonorable when playing international soccer. They're very good at it. They get away with it. My personal opinion, that's what I think. And I see the same. And it may just be, from my perspective, it may just be an ab reaction against the way I watch the NHL, where certain teams are allowed to break the rules in order to advance certainly in the playoffs, because that's what the NHL would prefer, because they're from certain cities. What are you gonna do? So, but I'll watch the World Cup with mostly blinders on, and I'll usually just pick a side for that particular game and then just watch it. All right, so really good stuff coming out of Germany right now. All of this stuff is from. How do I feel about Stash? Was thinking about downloading it. I don't know what. Oh, was that meant to be a different? I don't know anything about Stash. I don't even know what it is. I've never heard of it. Let's root for Iceland. They jailed the bankers. Nice. I like that, Thordoom. That's a great idea. Oh, is Iceland in the tournament? Definitely rooting for Iceland. Oh, yeah. I mean, they may be a bunch of socialist weenies, but they stuffed it to the bankers. That's all that matters to me. That's really not fair to say about it. They practice their own interesting form of Scandinavian collectivism, which is hard to be. It is what it is. It's just culturally the way they are. I still don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, Roger, I really don't. I literally never heard of it. Shoot me a link or shoot me a DM on Twitter or drop me an email. You guys know where you can find me, or if you're a subscriber, just pop me a DM on Slack, and we'll be happy to look into whatever it is. Let's see, because you can't put links into chat here on Periscope because Periscope's crap. So, or even a link, or even a comment on the YouTube, because I'll get it that way. Okay, so great news coming out of Germany. We'll see if this actually translates into a vote of no confidence against Merkel. It's getting very close to that. Really didn't expect this coalition to last very long anyway. But if the immigration crisis, if the pushback against immigration is what takes Merkel down, it will be fantastic to see that happen. So, it'll be fantastic to see that happen. I mean, absolutely, the best thing in the world, because Merkel is the biggest impediment to, one, rapprochement with Russia, and two, ending the technocratic oligarchy that is the EU. Because you couldn't possibly get anybody in Germany, in power in Germany, that is even more of an EU firster, that has a chance in hell of actually putting a coalition together. Because it ain't Martin Schulz, let me tell you. That once that occurs, whoever you get is going to be less of an EU firster than Merkel is. And so that changes the dynamic completely. And so the German people don't want to bail out the South. And I mean, whether they should or they shouldn't is irrelevant at this point. Whether the money that they've appropriated themselves was stolen or otherwise, you make whatever arguments you want about this, it doesn't matter. Okay. Just ending the current transfer payment system that is the EU is a net positive. It's like sometimes all I want is for you to stop abusing me, right? That's all I want. You can keep all the stuff you've taken from me already, just stop abusing me. And if I have to beat the shit out of you to get to that point, great. And I think that in this particular analysis, just removing Merkel is such a net positive. And then going from there to see whatever happens after that. No, what will most likely happen after that is Germany will become much more nationalistic. Not in a ugly Nazi kind of way. Just they'll be more Germany first. Great, fine. They will be much more open to leaving the euro itself and reinstituting the Deutschmark while everybody else keeps the euro. That is actually the most elegant solution to the problem. And I know I've read a lot of different people recently saying, "Oh, that can't happen for these reasons," and blah 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 blah. And look, no, a lot of things can happen, and a lot of things will happen because things are going to get things. Once things really begin to break down, then anything is possible. So, there comes a point where today everybody has all of this power, right? They have all of this ability to muddy waters and complicate negotiations and create legal challenges and mung up the works, all of this crap, right? Delay, and it doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Europe or Rod Rosenstein over, the Mueller investigation, or it doesn't matter what it is. These guys think that they can continue to work the system to avoid the consequences of their actions and to keep their stuff, to keep their little fiefdoms. Oh, I got news for you. When the pitchforks come out and the torches come out, I got news for you. They all wind up getting strung up by their toenails and fed to dogs. That's what happens. And we'll get to that point. Mexico, Germany will be a very good match, Juan Isaac. Without a doubt. Be a very, very good match. Because I actually love watching the Mexican. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to get to a pitchforks and torches moment. And it's the other thing is the one I'm worried about is that we're also going to get to a pitchfork and torches moment against Jewish people across Europe and here in the United States because of the way Netanyahu is acting. We got Soros out there complaining. We've got Orban complaining about Soros and Netanyahu coming out and calling it frickin' Nazism. Is he out of his mind? I mean, seriously, is Netanyahu just a blithering idiot at this point? A blithering, abreacting monkey? I think he is. If the report about Trump saying that Crimea is Russian because they are Russian is true, and he told that at the G7, they have to be foaming at their mouth. Possible. So many people know that the Crimea as a wedge issue is idiotic. And it's one of these things I was talking about. I wrote about this on Strategic Culture the other day, and I wrote about it on my blog, and I think there's a link to that article in the video below. That guys like Kissinger like to muddy the waters to make them look deep. Crimea is a very easily solved problem. Recognize that it's Russian. It's been 4 years and you lost. Let's move on with life and stop bitching and moaning. Let's stop trying to figure out how we can use this to our advantage. These Politico guys never seem to understand that there comes a point where continuing to think of everything in terms of a political asset or or liability is stupid. It's actually what will get them all lynched, because all it does is drag everybody through the mud and make everybody crazy. No, I know, Thordoom, that it's absolutely true. He is right. If he said it, then he's absolutely right. Now the question is, how do we get to that stage? Right. So, it's Netanyahu is crazy for trying to continue to play this game that everything is a grand Jewish anti-Jewish conspiracy. It's the Europeans are idiots for continuing to try and play this game that, well, we have to punish Russia for winning in Ukraine. I'm like, no, you should have never been involved in Ukraine in the first place. It's like Trump saying the other day, well, if I was president, they would have never gotten away with Crimea. If you were president, Don, you would have never instituted a coup in Kiev in the first fucking place. So let's just stop with the bull crap. I mean, seriously. Okay, let's stop with the self-aggrandizement. Okay, let's just say it. You would have never instituted a coup in Kiev in the first place. To your credit. But say that. Don't sit there and use it as a way to pump yourself up over Obama. Everybody knows you're not Obama at this point. I mean, the more he goes, honestly, at this point, if Trump will just stop with the, I need to destroy the Obama legacy thing, it's making him actually look weak. He should just move on with his life. Thorndom says it would be a long and painful process. The best way would be for Trump to Trump met Putin in Yalta and asked Crimeans. Hey, if Trump were to show up, yeah, exactly. It would just show up and start asking Crimeans how they felt about things. Trump's not stupid. He knows exactly how they feel about it. I don't believe for a second that Trump thinks that the Russians stole Crimea. I don't think Merkel feels that way. I don't think Macron feels that way. I don't think anybody with 3 brain cells to rub together and make a spark feels that way. So that precludes all Democrats. But, I know, I'll be here all week. Try the shrimp platter. So, the problem is the realpolitik of it. How do you negotiate a way out of this and save face? Well, the best way for Merkel to save face over this is to be deposed from power. Because I think if Merkel, now that you bring up Crimea, it's great because you stop to think about it. Deposing Merkel from power will also make it easier to start the process of dealing with Crimea and getting the sanctions lifted. I know he was. Now, Thorndom reminds us that Trump was talking about Crimeans voted to reunify before the elections, as opposed to using the word annex. Notice that the minute Trump gets into power, they're now forcing him into having to use the bad language and, saying that they annexed Crimea, that they invaded Crimea. It's bullcrap. There were 20,000 Russian troops there on purpose. The USS Donald Cook was sending Marines in to support the Ukrainian army to come in and wipe out to kill the civilian government and install a puppet government supported by U.S. Marines. And the USS Donald Cook missile carrier, missile frigate, destroyer. It was Russia's 20,000 troops that blanketed the entire island in EW, not allowing the Ukrainian army to talk to each other, and the Bastion shore defense systems that painted the USS Donald Cook a bright red and said, hi. That ended that shit. I don't have an answer for who will step in her place as prime minister. I don't have a good answer for that. And the reason I don't have a good answer for that is because ultimately, we have no idea what kind of vote will come out of this. It's going to be another ugly vote where AFD will get 13 to 15%, and the CSU will get 9%, and I mean, it's going to be ugly, and the Free Democrats might get 10%. You know, it could wind up being where you got like 6 parties, and they all get between 10 and 15%. Then what? You still can't make a government. Right, as User 13 reminds us that our goal in Crimea, or the Ukrainians' goal in Crimea, was to ethnically cleanse Crimea of all Russians. And so, you know, anybody continuing on this idea that that the Russians were in the wrong about Crimea is just insane. And I have to argue this with friends, and I have to argue this with all the time. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. I don't care what the hell you read. This is what happened. Okay? And I've got multiple sources to tell me this is what happened, and the Ukrainians were completely in the wrong. All right, that's mostly what I wanted to talk about this afternoon. What's important to remember here is that all of this is going to have unbelievable consequences in the financial markets. And we're starting to see that today. We're going to watch. I got an article up on the blog now talking about the movements in the euro, gold, and silver and whatnot. Important. What's really important is to see if these price levels hold or if they continue. The euro is rapidly approaching support now at $1.15. I don't know where the last time I looked, it was approaching $1.16 even. And it was looking bad. It's down below $1.16. It's continuing to just crater here. As money is moving into the dollar at an unbelievable rate, and gold is still holding above 1307. So gold is up $10 on $7 to $10 on the day, while all the other currencies are breaking down. That's a break of the strong dollar, weak gold trade. That's not what this is about anymore. This is now about a safe haven trade. This is now about crisis preparedness. Okay, and if we're seeing that, and we're seeing U.S. Treasury yields down, then yes. But interestingly enough, and this is the thing that I don't think anybody's talked about in terms of markets. Everybody's been talking about the flattening of the U.S. yield curve. The Fed's raising interest rates into what, and it's causing a flattening of the yield curve, right? Where the short end of the yield curve is rising to meet the long end of the yield curve, right? And that's never a good sign. So, but I think what's happening here is what I talked about in my article on Seeking Alpha that I published a couple of days ago, which is that emerging markets are where they've been buying. They've been buying in the short end of the yield curve. They've been buying 1 year, 2 year, 3 year U.S. debt. They haven't been buying the long end of the yield curve. They haven't been buying 10-year, and they haven't been buying 10s and 30s or 7s, 10s, and 30s. They've been buying mostly, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 5s. And the reason for that is that those are more liquid markets. Okay, and the Chinese have been shortening up the maturity of their U.S. bond portfolio for years, so they can dump into the more liquid short end of the market because there's just more volume there. And so when I'm looking at literally right now, I'm looking at U.S. 10 years are down 4.2 basis points, but U.S. 2 years are only down 0.8 basis points. What's that telling me? It's telling me we're getting emerging markets selling, overcoming or nearly overcoming in order to defend their currencies. They're selling their short-dated U.S. treasuries in order to defend their currencies against a rising dollar, while the 10-year and 30-year are dropping rapidly as pension funds and institutional investors are scooping up the long end of the yield curve for safe haven place. No one will tell you this. None. Nobody. You heard it here first. You heard it here last. I know no one else is talking about this, because no one else is looking at it from that perspective. And they should be. Maybe Martin Armstrong, but even he's not talking about it publicly right now because he's got everything good. He's really pulled back on what he's given the public as a reasonable amount, for free. That's fine. I don't care. I'll give you my interpretation of it free now, because I'm not going to write about this for the newsletter. So anything I don't write about for the newsletter gets dumped here. All right, guys. I think that's good. But watch this trend carefully because, yeah, we're down to under 40 basis points now between the 2 and the 10. That's not a good sign. All right, you guys take care. We'll talk soon. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. And if you have listened today and you haven't subscribed to the channel and you want to get notifications, you got to go physically into your settings on YouTube and turn notifications on. Click the little bell, turn it on. We'll be on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, both here and on Periscope. If you like what you heard, subscribe on the Patreon. You guys have a great afternoon, and we'll talk soon. Keep your stick on the